Hey, my name is Evan. I'm 29 and I fix cars for a living. 3 months ago, I was just another mechanic answering service calls in neighborhoods I'll never be able to afford. Then, I popped the hood of a black SUV in a marble driveway, and a woman in a white button down watched me work with eyes that made my hands shake. When I finished the 30-second fix, she handed me an envelope with too much money and said 8 words that I still hear every night before I fall asleep. I always reward guys who get their hands dirty. If you're watching this right now, tell me where you're from in the comments, because I still don't know if what we did was wrong. I was 29 and broke when I first heard her voice through the Ring camera. Is this Evan? From the mechanic service? The intercom made everything sound smaller, tinier. But even through that cheap speaker, I could tell she wasn't like my usual calls. Too polite, too careful with her words. Yes, ma'am, you called about a relay issue? Please, come in. The driveway's open. The gate clicked. I drove my dented Ford van through streets that probably cost more per month than I made. Glass houses, stone driveways, everything so clean it hurt to look at. Her SUV sat in a driveway that could fit 4 vehicles. Black paint, chrome that actually gleamed. The kind of car I'd see at the dealership and know I'd never sit inside. I parked behind it, grabbed my toolbox. She opened the front door before I knocked. You must be Evan. Meredith Hart was, I don't know how to say this right, beautiful but not like magazines. Beautiful like someone who'd learned how to carry herself. Tall, dark hair pulled back, 40 something maybe, wedding ring that caught the light when she gestured. Mrs. Hart? Meredith, please. She wore a white button down and dark jeans that probably cost what I made in 2 weeks. Clean hands, no calluses, but her eyes looked tired in a way that expensive clothes couldn't hide. The car just died in the grocery store parking lot yesterday, she said. AAA towed it back, but they said it might be electrical. I nodded, popped the hood. The engine bay was spotless, like someone detailed it every week. I checked the obvious things first: battery connections, fuses. Then I found it. The starter relay had worked loose from its socket. 30-second fix. Try it now, I said. The engine turned over immediately. Smooth, perfect. That's that's it? Yes, ma'am. Relay just needed to be seated properly. She stared at me like I'd performed surgery. How much do I owe you? Service call minimum is 45. She disappeared inside, came back with an envelope. There's 60, she said. You saved me from, well, Gavin would have said I should know basic car maintenance. The way she said her husband's name, like it left a taste. Relay problems aren't basic maintenance. Ma'am, they just happen. Meredith, she said again, softer. I was loading my tools when she spoke again. Do you do house calls? For other things? I turned around. She was standing in the doorway, one hand on the frame. The porch light made her look younger somehow. What kind of things? The cabinet in my kitchen. The door won't close properly. It's been driving me crazy for months. I should have said no. Should have given her a handyman's number and left. Instead, I said, I could take a look. She led me through the front door. The house smelled like lemon furniture polish and something else. Something expensive. Everything was white and gray and perfect. Like a magazine spread, the kitchen was bigger than my entire apartment. Island in the center, marble countertops, sub-zero refrigerator humming quietly in the corner. This one, she said, touching a cabinet door near the sink. It won't align. I opened and closed it. The soft close mechanism was off by maybe 2 millimeters. Easy fix with the right tool. I can adjust this. Might take 10 minutes. Please. While I worked, she made coffee. Real coffee, not instant. The smell filled the kitchen along with that furniture polish scent. You live around here? She asked. Other side of town? near the train yard. That must be different, different. Like she was trying not to say cheaper. It's fine. Close to work. She handed me a mug. Heavy ceramic, not the paper cups I was used to. The coffee was perfect, rich, warm. My mom lives over there too, I said. Don't know why I mentioned that. Is she doing well? Getting by. Medical bills, you know. Meredith's face changed, softer. I'm sorry. That's hard. I tested the cabinet door. Perfect alignment now. All set. That fast? Sometimes the simple fixes are the best ones. She reached for her purse again, but I shook my head. Already paid for the service call. But you went out of your way. It's fine, really. I was packing up when she said it. I always reward guys who get their hands dirty. The words hung in the air between us. Not flirty, not obvious, just loaded, like she was testing how they sounded. I looked at her. She was holding my empty coffee mug with both hands, watching me like she was surprised at herself. I should go, I said. Of course. Let me walk you out. At the front door, she handed me a business card, heavy paper, her name in raised letters, in case, if anything else needs fixing. I drove home with her voice in my head, the way she'd said my name, the way that cabinet door closed perfectly now, silent and smooth. I always reward guys who get their hands dirty. I played it back maybe 50 times before I fell asleep. 3 days later, she called again. Evan, this is Meredith Hart from. I remember. The garbage disposal is making an awful sound. I know it's probably nothing, but Gavin's at a conference and I'm worried it might flood. I can be there in an hour. Thank you. I'll leave the side gate open. Just come around back. This time she met me at the kitchen door. Jeans again. Different shirt. Hair down. It started this morning, she said, turning on the disposal. The grinding noise was wrong. Not dangerous wrong, just wrong. I shut off the power at the breaker, pulled the unit. Something metal had fallen down the drain, looked like a small spoon. There's your problem. 20 minutes later, everything was running smooth again. Coffee? She asked. I should have said I had another appointment. Should have left. Sure. We sat at her kitchen island this time. The marble was cold against my forearms. Outside the window, I could see other houses, other perfect driveways, other lives I'd never understand. How long have you been doing this? She asked. 7 years. Started right out of high school. No college? Couldn't afford it. Mom got sick my senior year. Had to work. She nodded like she understood, but how could she? This kitchen probably cost more than my mom's house. You're very good at it, she said. The fixing things. Thanks. No, I mean, you make it look easy, like you actually enjoy it. I did enjoy it. The problem solving. The moment when something broken worked again. But I'd never had anyone notice that before. What about you? I asked. You work? Charity events, fundraisers, that sort of thing. She said it like an apology. Gavin says it keeps me busy. The way she said his name again, like swallowing something bitter. Sounds important. Does it? She looked at me like I'd given her something. Sometimes I wonder. We talked for maybe 30 minutes. About work, about the neighborhood, about nothing, really. But it felt like something. When I left, she walked me to the side gate. Evan? I turned. Thank you for taking the time. It's my job. No, she said quietly, it's not. That night, I couldn't shake the image of her standing at that gate. The way she'd said my name like she was memorizing it. A week passed. No calls. I told myself that was good. Smart. Whatever was happening between us, if anything was happening at all, it needed to stop. Then she texted. Unknown number, but I knew it was her immediately. Kitchen faucet dripping. Keeps me awake. Could you look at it? I stared at the message for 10 minutes, typed and deleted 3 different responses. Finally, tomorrow afternoon work? Perfect, thank you. The faucet needed a new O-ring, 15-minute fix, but I stretched it to 40, replaced the aerator too, cleaned the calcium buildup she hadn't even mentioned. You don't have to do all that, she said, watching me work. Might as well do it right. She made tea this time, some herbal blend that smelled like flowers. We sat in her living room. First time I'd been anywhere but the kitchen. Everything was beige and white and expensive, but cold somehow, like a hotel lobby. Gavin chose most of this, she said, following my gaze. He has strong opinions about aesthetics. What would you choose? She looked surprised. I I'm not sure anymore. Color? Maybe something warmer. She paused. What's your place like? Small? Old, but it's mine? That sounds nice. You could see it sometime. The words were out before I could stop them. We both went quiet. I mean, I started. I know what you meant, she said softly. Neither of us said anything for a long moment. I should go, I said finally. Of course. At the door, she touched my arm. Just briefly. Drive safe. I sat in my van for 5 minutes before starting the engine, her hand on my arm. The way she'd said my place sounded nice. This was getting complicated. 2 weeks later, she called about a squeaky hinge on her bedroom door. It wakes Gavin, she said. He's been irritated about it. I came during the day when her husband was at work. The hinge just needed oil, but while I was there, she mentioned the back gate sticking, the loose handrail on the stairs, the window in the guest room that wouldn't latch properly. Small things, easy fixes, but they added up to 3 hours. Let me pay you for your time, she said when I finished. It's fine. Evan, please. Okay, 20 for materials. She handed me 40 and a thermos. What's this? Coffee, for the road. I made too much. The thermos was nice. Stainless steel, the kind that kept things hot for hours. You don't have to. I wanted to. That night, I drank her coffee in my apartment. It was perfect. Better than anything I made. I washed the thermos carefully and put it on my counter. I'd return it tomorrow. That was the plan. But tomorrow became next week, and the thermos sat there, reminding me of the way she'd smiled when she handed it to me, like she was giving me a secret. When she texted about a loose cabinet handle, I brought the thermos back. Clean. Empty. Thank you, she said, taking it. Did the coffee help? It was perfect. Good, she paused. I could fill it again, if you want. I want a lot of things, I thought. That would be nice. The pattern started then. Small repair jobs that could have waited. Thermoses filled with coffee that got better each time. Conversations that went longer than they should have. I started finding excuses to drive through her neighborhood, telling myself I was just checking for other work. But really, I was looking for her. In the garden, at the mailbox, anywhere. Sometimes I'd see her husband, tall guy, expensive suit, always on his phone. He'd wave if he saw me, polite but distant, like I was part of the landscape. Which I was, I guess. The mechanic, the handyman, invisible, except to her. Everything changed the night of the storm. It was a Friday in October. I was finishing up a transmission job when the rain started. Real rain. The kind that turns streets into rivers. My phone buzzed. Evan, I'm so sorry to bother you, but our power's out and I can't get the generator started. Gavin's in Seattle and I'll be right there. The drive took twice as long. Streets flooding, tree branches down. But I made it. She met me at the side gate with a flashlight, hair wet from running between the house and the garage. No makeup, just her. I'm sorry, she said. I tried to follow the instructions, but it's fine. Where's the generator? We ran to the garage together. The generator was commercial grade. enough to power half the house. But it wouldn't turn over. I checked the obvious things first: fuel, oil, spark plug. Then I found it: water in the fuel line from a loose connection. Got it, I said, and the generator roared to life. The garage filled with noise and exhaust, but also warmth, the first warmth I'd felt in an hour. Oh, thank God, she said. I was imagining frozen pipes and ruined food, and she was shivering, soaked through. You should get inside, I said. Get dry. What about you? I'm fine. You're not fine. You're freezing. Before I could protest, she was pulling me toward the house, through the kitchen door, into the warm, generator lit kitchen. Sit, she said, pointing to a stool at the island. Let me get you a towel. She disappeared upstairs, came back with a thick towel and a dry shirt. Gavin's, she said, handing me the shirt. You're about the same size. I changed in the downstairs bathroom. Her husband's shirt fit perfectly. Expensive cotton, softer than anything I owned. When I came out, she'd made hot chocolate. Real hot chocolate, not the packet kind. Better? Much. Thank you. We sat across from each other at the island. The generator hummed in the garage. The rain hammered the windows. And for the first time since I'd met her, we weren't pretending this was just about fixing things. I'm glad you came, she said quietly. Of course I came. But you didn't have to. Not in this weather, not on a Friday night. I looked at her. Really looked. No perfect makeup, no carefully styled hair. Just Meredith, real and warm and close enough to touch. Yes, I did, I said. She understood. I could see it in her eyes. Evan, I know. This is complicated. I know that too. The power came back on suddenly. Lights blazing, the sub-zero humming back to life, the normal world returning. I should shut off the generator, I said. Of course. When I came back from the garage, she was standing by the sink, back to her composed self, hair smoothed, distance restored. What do I owe you? Nothing. Emergency calls are part of the service. But the weather, your time, Meredith, it was the first time I'd said her name out loud. It's fine. She walked me to the door. At the threshold, she stopped. Keep the shirt, she said. You earned it tonight. I drove home wearing her husband's shirt. It smelled like their house, like lemon polish and expensive everything. I should have returned it the next week, should have put distance between us. Instead, I wore it to bed. The thermos routine continued, became something we both depended on. She'd text about minor repairs: a sticky drawer, a wobbly table leg, a light switch that sparked. I'd fix whatever needed fixing. She'd send me home with coffee and something that felt like more than gratitude. I started sleeping better those nights. The coffee, maybe. Or maybe it was just knowing she'd thought of me, filled that thermos with her own hands, wanted me to have something warm for the drive home. 3 weeks after the storm, Luis noticed. You've been different, man, he said over lunch. Happier or something. Just busy. Good month for calls. Yeah? What kind of calls? I almost told him. Almost said there was this woman, this married woman, and I was falling for her one thermos at a time. Instead, I said, nothing special, just work. But Luis knew me too well. Just be careful, he said. Whatever it is. What do you mean? You know what I mean. That afternoon, I got a text from Meredith. Could you look at the mailbox? The door won't stay closed. Simple fix. 5-minute job. But when I got there, she was waiting with the thermos already filled. You didn't have to make coffee, I said. I wanted to. Besides, it's cold today. It was cold. November had come early, but sitting in her kitchen, drinking her perfect coffee, I felt warm straight through. Evan, she said as I was leaving. Yeah? Be careful driving home. The roads might be icy. Such a simple thing, such a normal thing to say. But the way she said it, like she was worried about me, like it mattered to her that I got home safe. I will. That night, I sat in my apartment holding the thermos, still warm, still perfect, and I knew I was in trouble. Real trouble, the kind that changes everything. The email came on a Tuesday morning. Luis showed it to me on his phone while we were having coffee at the shop. "Look at this shit," he said. It was from the HOA in Meredith's neighborhood. Subject line: unauthorized vehicles lingering after work hours. There was a photo attached, a grainy shot of my van parked 2 blocks from her house, time-stamped from the Friday of the storm, 9:28 p.m. "That's your van, right?" Luis said. My stomach dropped. "Yeah." "Man, what the hell were you doing there that late?" "Generator repair. Storm knocked out their power." "Their power?" I could hear the question in his voice, the same question I'd been asking myself for weeks. "One of my regular clients," I said. "Must be some client. HOA's calling it unauthorized lingering." I read the email again. The neighborhood association was asking residents to report service vehicles that stayed beyond normal business hours. They mentioned security concerns, property values, but mostly they mentioned gossip. "Says here they're reviewing all vendor contracts," Luis said. "That includes us, man. Gavin Hart's fund has that maintenance contract with the city. One complaint and we lose that income. It won't come to that." "You sure about that?" I wasn't sure about anything anymore. That afternoon, I got a text from Meredith. "Thank you for everything." 4 words, but they felt like goodbye. I stared at the message for an hour, typed a dozen responses, deleted them all. Finally, I wrote, "Anytime you need legitimate work, I'll invoice properly." She didn't reply. I drove by her house that evening, parked 2 blocks away, like always. But the porch light stayed dark. I sat there for 5 minutes, hands on the wheel, realizing this was it. Whatever we'd had, whatever we'd been building, it was over. The thermoses stopped. The repair calls stopped. The careful dance we'd been dancing for months just ended. I kept her husband's shirt in my drawer, kept the last thermos she'd given me on my counter, empty now, reminders of something that never quite became real. But late at night, when I couldn't sleep, I'd drive past her street, never turning in, just checking. Some nights, the porch light would blink twice, fast, then slow, like a code. I never figured out what it meant, but I never forgot it either. I woke up in my van at 6:10 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Pale rain on the windshield. My neck ached from sleeping against the door. I'd told myself I was parked here for logistics. Had a fleet job at 6, just 2 miles away. Made sense to sleep close by rather than drive across town twice. But we both know that wasn't true. I was 2 blocks from her house because some part of me couldn't let go. The fleet job was routine. 8 oil changes, 1 transmission flush. By 10 a.m., I was done and heading to drop an invoice at another contractor's office. Then, I made the turn toward her street. I had the thermos in my passenger seat, washed, polished, with a yellow sticky note that said, "Thank you," in my careful handwriting. Mrs. Dwyer answered the side door. The housekeeper. Older woman, kind eyes, practical hands. She'd been there the night of the storm, cleaning up water that had blown in through an open window. "Mr. Cole," she said, like she'd been expecting me. "Could you give this to Mrs. Hart from the other night?" She took the thermos without asking questions, nodded once. "I will." As I drove away, I checked the rearview mirror. Nora Vale was, in her front yard, pruning roses with surgical precision. Earbuds in, but her eyes tracked my van. That's one too many passes this week, I thought. Monday came with a legitimate job. Sprinkler system across the street from Meredith's house. Perfect excuse to be in the neighborhood. I was testing water pressure when my phone buzzed. Front door slams. "Can you make it gentler?" I finished the sprinkler job. invoiced the homeowner properly, made sure Nora saw the paperwork exchange. Then, I crossed the street. Meredith met me at the front door. First time I'd seen her in a week. "It rattles the whole house when it closes," she said. "Gavin says it sounds like we're angry." The door needed a soft close mechanism, simple install, but I took my time adjusting the tension until it closed like a whisper. "Try it," I said. She pushed the door shut. It barely made a sound. "How do you do that?" she asked. "Do what?" "Make things gentle." She wasn't talking about the door anymore. "Just requires the right touch," I said. We stood there in the doorway, evening light filtering through the trees. For a moment, it felt like before, like the HOA email had never happened. Then, she laughed. Not forced, not polite, real laughter that started somewhere deep and bubbled up. I'd never heard her laugh like that before. "What's funny?" I asked. "Nothing. Everything." She shook her head. I just, When's the last time someone made something in my life work better instead of worse?" The question hung between us. "I should go," I said. "Of course." But as I walked away, I heard the door close behind me. Silent. Perfect. I didn't look back, but I knew she was watching. Tuesday morning, 8:03 a.m. Luis and I were at the shop computer when his phone chimed. "Shit," he said, reading. "Look at this." Another HOA email. This one had made it through his contacts somehow. The subject line made my stomach drop. Follow up. Unauthorized vehicle patterns. Same photo of my van, but now they'd added context. Service records from the city. Vehicle registration data. They knew exactly whose van it was. "That's you, man," Luis said quietly. "They're building a case." "For what?" "I don't know. But look at this part." He scrolled down to a section about vendor review protocols. Gavin Hart's fund was mentioned specifically as a community partner with the right to evaluate service providers. One complaint could sink us. "You need to stop going there," Luis said. "I know." "Do you? Because this isn't just about you anymore. My kids eat because of that city contract." I looked at him. Luis had been my partner for 3 years. Good man. Steady work. 2 kids and a mortgage. "I'll stop," I said. "Promise me." "I promise." But that evening, I drafted a text to Meredith. Something about needing to maintain professional boundaries. About the HOA concerns. I typed it, deleted it, typed it again. Never sent it. Instead, I deleted her number from my phone. Then, sat there for 10 minutes and added it back from memory. Some addictions die harder than others. Her text came Tuesday at 6:50 p.m. while I was cooking eggs in my apartment. "Thank you for everything." 4 words that felt like a door closing. I stared at my phone for 20 minutes. Finally, typed back, "Anytime you need legitimate work, I'll invoice properly." She didn't respond. I walked to the corner store, bought coffee I didn't need, came back and opened my glove compartment. The lemon cookie wrapper was still there. From that first day when she'd offered me coffee and I'd been too nervous to eat the cookie that came with it. I'd saved the wrapper like some kind of evidence. Evidence of what? That she'd been kind to me? That I'd mistaken kindness for something else? That night, I drove to her neighborhood, parked 2 blocks away and watched her house for exactly 5 minutes. The porch light stayed dark. I drove home. Wednesday and Thursday blurred together. Luis reminded me that Gavin's fund was doing vendor evaluations on Friday. Our small contract hung in the balance. I focused. Pristine work logs, clean uniform, 0 detours, 3 jobs in other neighborhoods. Called my mom to tell her about the progress on her medical bills. Normal life, regular work. Meredith stayed silent. Friday at noon, I was printing invoices when I noticed an error on the original Hart job. The relay repair from that first day. I'd charged $45 for the service call, but the line items only added up to $33. $12 mistake in my favor. I could have mailed the correction. Should have mailed it. Instead, I printed a new invoice and drove to her neighborhood. Nora was gardening again, always, always watching. But she had earbuds in, and I parked legally this time. I walked to the front door, left an envelope addressed to Accounts Hart Residence under the mat, turned around immediately, no lingering, no looking back, counted it as closure. Friday to Sunday passed like a time-lapse video. Charity 5K set up on Saturday morning, food truck alternator repair, Sunday dinner with my mom. I avoided her neighborhood completely. Luis and I talked football and pricing adjustments, normal things, no contact from Meredith. Sunday night, I sat in my van outside my apartment. Midnight, glove compartment open, looking at that cookie wrapper. Such a small thing to carry for so long. I closed the glove box gently, like she'd taught me doors should close. Monday, 1:58 a.m., soft tapping against my driver's window. I'd been asleep in my apartment, but the sound pulled me outside in boxers and a t-shirt. Empty street, quiet neighborhood. But there, pinned to my driver's side mirror with a hair elastic, was a silk scarf. Pale blue, expensive. I'd seen it in a photo on their hallway table from one of her charity galas. Folded underneath was a note in precise handwriting. The hinge squeaks again. My heart hammered so hard I could hear it in my ears. I looked up and down the street. Nothing. No one. But she'd been here, in my neighborhood, at 2 a.m. I unpinned the scarf and note, locked the van, sat on my front steps in the cold for a full minute, holding silk that still smelled like her perfume. She'd taken a risk, a real one, which meant I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Monday, 11:40 a.m. I rearranged my schedule, told Luis I'd be offline for an hour. Personal appointment, I said. Be careful, he replied. I drove to her neighborhood, parked where the cameras couldn't easily catch license plates, walked to the side door. Mrs. Dwyer opened it before I knocked. Kitchen, she said simply, wiped her hands on her apron and stepped aside. The smell hit me first, lemon furniture polish and something expensive, then the sound, that sub-zero humming in the corner. Meredith stood by the cabinet I'd fixed weeks ago, one fingertip on the edge, like she was holding it in place. Hi, she said. Hi. We spoke like people in a library, quiet, careful. Thank you for coming. Thanks for the note. I pulled the scarf from my jacket pocket, folded carefully. You didn't have to return it, she said. You didn't have to risk bringing it to me. I know. I moved to the cabinet, opened and closed it. The hinge was fine. Perfect, actually. It's not squeaking, I said. I know that too. She stepped closer, not touching, just close enough that I could smell her shampoo. Why did you call me here, Meredith? Because I missed you. 3 words that changed everything. The HOA. I know about the HOA. I know about the risks. I know this is complicated and impossible and probably stupid. She looked up at me. But I missed the way you make things work. I missed the thermos ritual. I missed having someone in my kitchen who actually sees me. I see you. I know you do. We stood there, not moving. The kitchen so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. What do we do now? I asked. I don't know. Mrs. Dwyer passed through with a laundry basket, made eye contact with Meredith for just a second, a check-in, maternal and careful. Meredith nodded slightly. Mrs. Dwyer continued upstairs. She knows, I said. She's been with our family for 8 years. She knows everything. And? And she thinks I've been lonely too long. I removed the soft close mechanism from the cabinet door, oiled the pin, reset the damper. Work I didn't need to do, but it gave my hands something to focus on. Try it now, I said. She opened and closed the door. Silent. Perfect. How long can we pretend this is about cabinet doors? She asked. As long as we need to. But even as I said it, We both knew it wasn't true. She stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the warmth from her skin. Evan? Yeah? I need you to know something. What? This isn't about my marriage or money or boredom. What is it about? You. The way you fix things without making noise about it. The way you listen. The way you made that door close gently because I asked you to. Her forehead touched my shoulder, just barely. One breath in, one breath out. Every instinct told me to put my arms around her, to close that last inch of distance. Instead, I pressed my hand flat against the marble counter, chose the counter over her back. We stepped apart at exactly the same moment. A car alarm chirped in the distance. Gavin's BMW. We froze, listened. Nothing, just the neighborhood sounds. But it was enough to remind us where we were. I should go, I said. I know. I placed an itemized invoice on the kitchen island, including the $12 correction from that first job, added a note in my careful handwriting. Door closes softly now. Mrs. Dwyer appeared with a small paper bag. Your thermos, she said quietly. Clean. The same thermos Meredith had given me that first night. Empty now, but somehow still warm in my hands. Thank you. I walked the same route out, past the cabinet that closed silently, through the kitchen that smelled like lemon and possibilities, out the side door that Mrs. Dwyer held open with motherly patience. I didn't look back until I reached the street corner. The porch light was off. 2 days passed. Luis and I survived the vendor review. The fund renewed our contract with language so bland it could have been written by robots. Relief and terror in equal measure. Wednesday night, 10:14 p.m. I sat at my kitchen table with the scarf in a drawer now, not my pocket. The thermos on the counter, clean and empty. I breathed easier and worse at the same time. Thursday evening, I had a legitimate water heater call 2 streets over from her neighborhood. When I finished, I took the long way home. Drove past her street without stopping, just passing through. As I rounded the corner, the porch light flashed twice, short, then once long. Not an accident, too deliberate. I pulled over on the next street, hands on the wheel, heart racing. The pattern felt familiar, like Morse code, but simpler. 2 short, 1 long. I sat there for 10 minutes, replaying it, thinking about all the things she'd taught me, the hinge that went from squeak to silence, the thermos that went from hot to empty to full again, the stick shift lesson I'd given her husband's car when the battery died, and I'd had to push start it in their driveway. Stall to glide, stop to go. 2 short, 1 long. I drove home with my heart keeping time to that rhythm. Over the next week, it happened twice more, always when I was legitimately nearby for other work. Always the same pattern. I never stopped, never responded, but I learned to listen for it. The routine became something we could live with. Official work only, professional boundaries. But if I happened to be in the neighborhood, and if the porch light happened to flash that pattern, it was enough. Almost enough. I kept the scarf in my bedroom drawer, the cookie wrapper in my glove box, the thermos on my kitchen counter, clean and empty, tokens of something that couldn't quite be named. Sunday night, 2 weeks after our kitchen reunion, I made tea and opened my apartment window. Rain tapped against metal fire escapes somewhere in the distance. I let the thought of her arrive and pass like weather. Some doors close softly, some lights speak in code. Some kinds of love live in the space between what's possible and what's right. 2 weeks later, I finished a brake job on the other side of town. Late afternoon, golden light that made everything look warmer than it was. I could have taken the highway home. Direct route, heavy traffic. Instead, I drove the long way, past strip malls and school zones, and finally, inevitably, past her street. I didn't turn in, didn't even slow down. At the red light, I pulled out my phone and recorded a voice memo. For myself. For later, for the version of me who might someday understand what this all meant. Some doors, I said into the phone, once they close without a sound, teach you how to listen for a light you weren't brave enough to name. The light turned green. I put the phone away, drove to the donation center, and dropped the thermos in with other kitchenware I was clearing out. Let the symbols go without drama. That evening, I parked outside my apartment and closed my van door carefully. It didn't slam. Somewhere across town, a woman I'd fixed things for was probably making dinner in a kitchen that smelled like lemon polish, opening and closing a cabinet door that moved like silk. Somewhere, a porch light might be flashing a code I'd learned but never answered. And somewhere between what happened and what didn't, between what we said and what we couldn't, there was a story about mercy, about knowing when to stop, about the kindness of leaving something perfect exactly as it was. I walked up to my apartment, turned the key in a lock that worked smoothly because I'd oiled it last month, and closed my door without a sound. Some doors, once they close without a sound, teach you how to listen for a light you weren't brave enough to name. If this found you at the right time, you'll know.